Happy Monday and welcome to NMH at 1, where we give you the news making headlines in Namibia and beyond. The biggest news of the day, of course, is that Namibia celebrates its 32nd year as a free country. Happy Independence Day, Namibia. I am Diana Master and I will be taking you through this daily lunchtime news broadcast. In today's news, poaching on the rise in Elisenheim. A peaceful demonstration in the capital aimed at protesting for the rights of women to end unwanted pregnancies. Economist Dr. Michael Samson believes that a universal basic income grant in Namibia could stave off food security for thousands of Namibians and uplift Namibia's development overall. He shares more a little later in today's broadcast when we come back with these stories and more. As mentioned earlier, Namibia celebrates its 32nd Independence Day today, with celebrations taking place in Swakopmund. NMH journalist Micheline Nawatises was there to capture the moment earlier today when the President of the Republic of Namibia, Dr. Hage Geingob, inspected the guard upon his arrival for the 32nd Independence anniversary. Let's take a look.
Your Excellency.
Poaching is reportedly on the rise, with farms in the area close to Okahanya Park as well as the Dunfilyun Reserve being targeted. The slaughtering of a farm horse marks a worrying turn of events, which upset a lot of people over the weekend after a horse was found slaughtered by poachers. The horse named Pablo had gone missing on Thursday morning, not returning home from the field as usual on the farm Elisenheim. The farm owner found and followed the tracks across the B1 main road with human footprints found alongside the horse tracks leading in the direction of the informal settlement Okahanya Park, where the gruesome discovery of the horse's severed head and feet shocked the owner and surrounding community. Stay with us as we bring you more local news across the regions after this ad break. Welcome back to NMH at 1. Getting into today's video news. Protesters took to Windhoek streets on Saturday to campaign for the rights of women to end unwanted pregnancies legally and safely. The Yes to Choice march took place ahead of a parliamentary standing committee report that is expected to be made public soon on whether or not to reform the current Abortion and Sterilization Act. This clip was prepared by Yana Marie Smith.
How many women have bled out on their way to the hospital from trying to perform backdoor abortions by themselves?
How many 19-year-olds are dying because African leaders are unable and, more importantly, unwilling to allow us access to safe reproductive health care? Abortion and Sterilization Act of 1975 is a remnant of apartheid, and in this country we love talking about how much we hate apartheid, how much we want to distance ourselves from it, how much we've grown from it, how much we've moved and want to move on from it. But how can we really move on from apartheid when we keep laws in place, when we keep laws in place that were created by a government whose entire legacy was to control us?
They refuse to legalize abortion not because they're trying to save unborn children, but because it's about control, it's about violence, and it's about power. We always say that we want a safe Namibia. We say we want a peaceful Namibia, and we say we want a Namibia that's abundant for all. How can we know peace when the state is at war with our bodies, and with our rights, and with our bodily autonomy? How many people have performed backdoor abortions because our state has failed them and state has not given them access to what is not theirs? How many of us are going to be forced carrying pregnancies to term? How many people are in jail at the moment for trying to end their pregnancies? How long will we allow the state to dictate when we are ready to be parents, when we ourselves have told them that we are not? If I tell you that I don't have the emotional, physical, financial, mental, or spiritual capacity to be a parent, who are you to decide that I am? Last year, I went to a primary school where 2 girls who were under 13 were raped and impregnated. The one girl was pregnant with twins and had a miscarriage at 7 months. The other girl had carried her pregnancy to term, but wasn't able to finish primary school because there was no one there to take care of her baby. Why were these girls forced to carry these pregnancies to term? Our current laws are not liberal enough. They're not extensive enough. And again, they're failing the people they're meant to protect. When we say we want abortion to be legalized, we're not asking to make it accessible for a few. We're asking you to make it accessible to all. It needs to be comprehensive. It needs to be free. And it needed now.
This law has been inherited from apartheid. It's a 1975 law. At the time when the white Afrikaans government came together, they noticed that white women were terminating their pregnancies, and they said that it would go against the legacy of a utopian white South Africa, and hence they brought in the Abortion and Sterilization Act of 1975 to preserve white legacy, not to preserve the lives of all women. And that is why we are sitting with this law.
Abortion is about allowing women the right to make choices about when they want to have children in relation to their age, financial stability, relationship stability. It is not the place of the government to legislate against women's choices. Raising a child is not an easy task, It requires social, emotional commitment coupled with financial resources. If a person feels they are not ready to have a child, it means that the pregnancy is unwanted. The resultant allowing a fetus to grow into a child is worse than abortion, since the resultant child will grow into a non-conducive environment without love and care.
I'm here to represent every girl child, every woman, even the ones that are born today, so they can have a choice should they find themselves in a situation where they don't want to continue with the pregnancy. They need to be able to have a choice. That is why I'm here. And also the restrictive abortion law should be repealed. You cannot say it is okay to abort one fetus and not the other. You know, we want women to have a choice, and it is their body, so they should have a right to decide what they need to do with their bodies.
Dr. Michael Sampson, who holds a PhD in economics from Stanford University, has worked for 31 years in social protection and has supported the design, implementation, and evaluation of social protection programs in over 40 countries. Sampson believes that a universal basic income grant in Namibia could not only stave off immediate food security for thousands of Namibians, but help uplift Namibia's development overall. Here, Professor Sampson talks about the immediate impact of implementing a universal income grant. This clip was prepared by Yana Marie Smith.
Namibia cannot afford not to implement a basic income grant. The World Bank classifies Namibia as an upper middle income country, but all you have to do is visit some of the poorest and most vulnerable communities in the country, and you are really called to question that finding. But it is the result of the very stark economic inequality that characterizes the country. It's really hard to measure inequality accurately, but the studies that have been conducted place Namibia amongst the 5 most unequal countries in the world. Some of these studies place Namibia number 2, some of them place Namibia number 4, but Namibia, like South Africa, face severe inequality. And so that label as an upper middle income country, while technically correct, but that doesn't mean anything for the person who's only earning a couple hundred. And what that means is that a basic income grant is more effective than anywhere else in the world, because a relatively small slice of the economic pie won't make a big difference for those who reap the extraordinary benefits at the upper end of the income distribution. Taking just 2 or 3% of national income is just a couple pennies on the dollar. Yet it can make an enormous difference for people who are earning the least amount within the country. The first and the most immediate impact we see is an improvement in food security, a reduction in hunger. This is a consistent result we've seen all around the world. When you give vulnerable households income security, the most important thing they spend this money on is food. And in communities that have been particularly hard hit by COVID, this is vitally important. These are communities that faced food insecurity even before the crisis. And as we heard from the World Bank's report, the number of people who have been pushed into severe poverty by COVID is a national calamity. But the second thing we see is also vitally important. We see that families use these resources to ensure that their children who might have faced bottlenecks to going to school because of informal fees that schools charge, or because they did not have money to pay for shoes or a breakfast to eat before they go to school, or school supplies, that families invest in their children. They invest in schooling, they invest in healthcare to build the human capital foundation of Namibia's future prosperity. The third thing we see, and this was fairly surprising, is we see substantial increase in economic activity. And as you think about it, it makes sense. Why is there so little economic opportunity in the poorest communities of Namibia? Because people don't have stable purchasing power. When you have income, you're afraid to spend it because you might need that for something more urgent, and you're even more afraid to invest because if you invest in your future livelihoods, you won't have that money to buy things that you desperately need, food, for example, or access to health care if there is a medical calamity. And so poverty can be stifling. Poverty creates risk for people, and these risks can be paralyzing. But when you give people a guaranteed steady income, even a small amount, 500 Namibian dollars is not going to break the government's finances, but it enables people to know that if they invest in a better livelihood today and they face an emergency tomorrow, they will have some means to tide them.
First Rand Namibia recently ran an auction offering green bonds with intent to raise over 300 million Namibian dollars. When we return, we will be highlighting this story and more happening in the world of economics. Stay tuned.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag payback the money.
In today's economic news, First Rand Namibia reportedly ran an auction offering green bonds intending to raise 350 Namibian dollars. This comes just days after the Banking Services Group announced that it was redeeming some of its earlier issued bonds worth 400 million Namibian dollars. The payment date for these redemptions is set for 29 March. The two bonds worth 300 million and 100 million Namibian dollars were issued in March 2017 and were paying 10.36% and JIBAR plus respectively. Aluminium has jumped at the open in London after Rio Tinto Group moved to halt alumina shipments to Russia, another threat to global supply of the so-called everywhere metal that will also fan global inflation. The metal rose as much as 4.8% on the London Metal Exchange and was trading up 4.1% at $3,519 a ton as of 9:47 a.m. in Shanghai. Used in everything from cans to window frames, aluminium has risen around 25% this year. Oil rose for a third straight day as the war in Ukraine neared the end of its first month with no end in sight, and Iranian-backed rebels attacked energy facilities in key exporter Saudi Arabia. West Texas Intermediate climbed above $108 a barrel, and the U.S. benchmark has now rallied almost 14% since the close last Wednesday. The global oil market has been pitched into turmoil by Russia's invasion of Ukraine, with the U.S. and Europe imposing sanctions on Moscow and crude buyers shunning the country's cargoes. WTI topped $130 a barrel earlier this month to hit the highest since 2008 before easing. Prices have seen unprecedented volatility with frequent intraday swings of about $10. We now take a look at the latest economic indicators. The Namibian dollar has increased in value when weighed against the euro and the Chinese yuan, while dropping against these other major currencies. MTC shares will now cost you 1.9% more on the NSX, and Namibia Breweries Limited 0.02% more, while other stock prices remain unchanged. Trustco Group Holdings stock prices have decreased by 4.70%, while local and overall index have increased according to the latest available data. Brent crude oil continues to go up, with copper and zinc also increasing in value, while gold saw a 0.71% decline. We return with news from the Democratic Republic of Congo, where armed forces have killed 14 civilians, inclusive of 7 children. Stay with us for more on this and more stories from the African continent. Welcome back. We now take a look at latest news in our neighboring countries and later on extend to the rest of the globe. 14 civilians, including 7 children, were killed in a displaced people's camp in Northeast Democratic Republic of Congo, the Red Cross said on Sunday, as a community leader blamed the machete attack on a militia. 7 adults and 7 children, including a 2-year-old girl, were all killed in the machete attack Saturday in the Ituri region, according to a list from the local Red Cross seen by AFP. 5 women aged between 25 and 32 were also among the victims. Thousands of Tunisians rallied in the capital on Sunday, the country's Independence Day, to protest against President Kais Saied and consultations over constitutional reforms proposed by him. Protesters shouted, "The people want to overthrow the president," and "No to consultations," according to AFP reporters. The demonstration was organized by the Islamist-inspired Ennahda Party and a movement named Citizens Against the Coup. Critics have dubbed the move a coup, and rights groups have warned that the country is sliding towards autocracy. After the break, we'll have a look at the international news. Stay tuned. A Ukrainian official has told residents of the northern town of Novoselitsia to seek shelter after an ammonia leak at a nearby chemical factory, as intense fighting with Russian forces in the area continues. Ammonia is a highly corrosive, toxic and hazardous gas and can be fatal to humans if ingested, inhaled or absorbed through the skin. Sumy Regional Governor said there had been an ammonia leakage at the Sumy Kimprom facility affecting an area within 2.5 kilometers which produces fertilizers. He said the leak was the result of Russian shelling and that an employee at the plant was wounded. Residents were told to seek refuge in basements or on lower levels of buildings to avoid exposure, and if ammonia is detected, to breathe through gauze bandages soaked in citric acid. Hong Kong will scrap flight bans and reduce quarantine for arrivals amid mounting frustration with a strict zero-COVID policy that has turned the financial center into one of the world's most isolated cities. Authorities will lift flight bans on 9 countries, including the United Kingdom and the United States, and cut hotel quarantine for incoming travelers with a negative COVID-19 test result from 14 days to 7. Hong Kong has implemented some of the strictest pandemic rules on earth. At the same time, other governments are lifting restrictions and returning to normal life. Hong Kong has seen an exodus of foreign businesses and talent after more than 2 years of tough border controls with no clear end in sight. At least 6 people have been killed after a car drove into a crowd of carnival goers in southern Belgium. The incident happened about 50 kilometers south of the capital, Brussels. The car drove at high speed into dozens of people who were preparing to take part in a traditional parade on Sunday morning. Around 40 people were injured and several are in serious condition. Now we move on over to sports news, where boxers from MTC Nesta Sunshine Boxing Promotions are up for more challenges after emerging victorious in a night of 12 boxing sessions. Stay with us. MTC Nesta Sunshine Boxing Promotions boxers have expressed aspirations for bigger challenges following victorious nights at Helao Nafidi in the Ohangwena region on Saturday. Philippus Enejingitumbwa, Charles Shinima and John Jolonimas all secured victory in a night of 12 fierce boxing bouts. Gitumbwa retained the WBO Africa Global Super Bantamweight after a TKO over Said Chino, while Jolonimas defended his WBO Africa Super Middleweight title after DRC's Eric Chimanga retired in the 8th round. WBO Africa welterweight champion Charles Shinima retained his title after beating South Africa's Msiwokolo Nwayana by 2nd round KO. Right arm spinner Piquia France made his presence felt for King Price against MR 24/7 Namspire on Saturday morning at the United Cricket Oval in Olympia, Windhoek. King Price, 237 runs for the loss of 3 wickets in 20 overs, won the battle by 93 runs against a hapless MR 24/7 Namspire outfit that could only accumulate 146 over 5 in 20 overs. Exco M&M Signs scored 142 runs in 20 overs, winning by 26 runs versus AMH BA Blasting that scored 116 for the loss of 9 wickets in 20 overs. On Sunday, the AMH BA Blasters, 191 over 4 in 20, won their match by 48 runs against MR 24/7, the Namspire 98 over 7 in 15 with the Duckworth-Lewis method. Former Brave Warriors international and Black Africa legend Lolo Goraseb hopes that the football impasse will be resolved. Goraseb feels that the only possible solution is when a new leadership in the executive is elected. The former BA playmaker, who is currently serving as an advisor to the club, also revealed that he has shifted his attention to helping Special Olympics athletes. Moving over to international news. We now take a look at the international sports scene, and we start with Orlando Pirates, who took a 2-0 win yesterday. Co-coach Mandla Nqikazi was delighted as Orlando Pirates secured qualification to the CAF Confederation Cup quarterfinals with a 2-0 away win over JS Saoura on Sunday. Ntsikelelo Nyawuza and Kabelo Dlamini were on the score sheet early in the second half as the Buccaneers sealed their passage to the knockout stages at the 5 July 1962 stadium in Algeria. Real Madrid manager Carlo Ancelotti has taken the full blame for a side embarrassing loss to arch rivals FC Barcelona on Sunday. Los Blancos had a night to forget at the Santiago Bernabeu as they went down 4-0 at the hands of the Catalan Giants. The La Liga leaders were without forward Karim Benzema on the night, but it was the defense who were being dragged all over the place. We now take a quick ad break and return with more news. Stay tuned. Thank you so much for staying with NMH at 1 and spending your lunch hour with me, Diana Master. Remember to join us Monday through to Friday at 1 p.m. as we take you through the latest happenings in Namibia and beyond. Happy Independence Day once again, Namibia. Stick around for a regional review segment which features news from across the regions in Namibia, and enjoy the week.
Good morning, Namibia. Welcome to another episode of Regional Review, the Far North Edition. My name is Tunole Mongoba, the regional correspondent for Namibia Media Holdings in the 4 oil regions. That's Omusati, Oshikoto, Ohangwena, and Oshana. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Today we are celebrating a very important milestone in our country. The 21st of March is the day that Namibia gained its independence in 1990. Happy 32 years to our beautiful, beautiful, beautiful country. We have achieved a lot of feats, and we also had a lot of achievements that we can be proud of as a country. Namibia Media Holdings has prepared a short clip as we celebrate this important milestone, so have a look. Back into our news segment, our first story, we are going all the way to Moshipandeka Secondary School in Ongwediva, and they recently held their career fair. They had different faculties, and they had different career opportunities and career guidance representatives. They had representatives from the Namibian police, they had representatives from different corporate institutions all over the country, and they also had motivational speeches and talks from people who would like to inspire them and encourage them to always shoot for their dreams. Here's the video for more.
Of what they want to become after completion.
I am one of the organizers of the Research Career Fair. I am also a former NMH student who was inspired by the work of the Research Career Fair. Then I decided to join the team. Why? Because I wanted to get a better surviving and also to succeed in life. So that made me join the Research Career Fair. So without wasting your time, I would love to thank the Director of Education for accepting our invitation of the fair. In the same vein, I would also love to thank the Principal of the Moshipandeka Secondary School for allowing us to have this event here. I would also love to thank the different executives, starting with the Pedro Fund, which is our main sponsor, the NASPA, NAS, Namibian police, I see the IOM has left, the Social Security Commission and the USUTA Contour. Thank you so much for making this day possible. Please note that we at the Risha Career Fair are also so much indebted to you, and please do join us in our next Risha Career Fair at in Oshinene in the Omaheke region on the 31st of March, and also in Okakarara, Oshogajupa region on the 1st of April. To my fellow learners, once a wise man told me that there are no secrets to success, but it is only the result of preparation, hard work, and the engaging in your failure that will keep you going and get where you want to get in life. So I would just love to encourage you that keep going no matter what happens, no matter the circumstances. Like as for me, I have failed a lot of times, but I never gave up. I'm also an orphan. I don't have one parent, but I never gave up. So today I'm standing right here in front of you just to give you encouragement that please just keep.
Our second story, we are going all the way to the Ohangwena and the Musati region, where we interview two residents who are speaking and complaining about the poor rainfall that has been experienced in the north. Currently, this is the season where most of the households in the north are supposed to start harvesting all of their mahangu fields and the different fruits that they have planted during the year. But due to a lack of rainfall, or rather rain that was received late in the year, a lot of residents have made complaints about poor rainfall and how this has affected their vegetation. I prepared a short clip, so please watch.
Jina langa ni Rauna Jesaya onkundato hakapeke mokalongo. Tuline mepsala tateisi ngoba. Tupopi odula tuline mepsa letu. Talulilwa ko dula ine ilokanyudo senga tuno uya ya psa konteni ya kaishi nene. Tapindira no dula iloke wa mwidi mepsonga skwa dula nya kaloke lo yango uya to ushona ndo mwidi ni wakakula uya kasala paike ndo mwidi ta ukulu. Hapugango mbigenya pango omakapa atukunugo makapa mepsa ndenyo udwae omakapo kuhole no dulo po yashive omididi hite diemedu yashive opo omatindi yaningo manene ndenyo udota kunike oilia o kapo na fango ikina tukunu hapu fukonga shko makundo ta valulwa fukonga shko mepeka mnasha pefe ombiganji hapu gango shifukwa ko mbiganji do ifuko ini ko mwidi etola dai ko mwidi Katuna ne here chatuni. Ngenongo shito. Epjale tungena pehema. Olo hali kala popongunda mali no ijali droma pse ngena apehema opa green na ija fikama idulenge no idule no fika wangi. De pife ai osenga mbatu no ulia upige matuli mu malisa. Makanu ongo ngefimbo ndi malisa makanu okwatula konalo o utingi o ukanu ombo kauna mu ufike no itilo hatukunu.
For our last segment of the show, we have an interview where we speak to Tiopolina Shikulo, a medical graduate student from the Cavendish University in Zambia, and she shares on her experience as a medical student, what inspired her to study medicine, the challenges that she has experienced, and thoughts and advice to people who would like to pursue her field. Here's the interview for more.
Good morning, Namibia. My name is Tiopolina Natango Shikulo. I am a recently graduate medical student. I studied at the university in Zambia, Cavendish University. That's where I did my 7-year course from. People always ask me, why medicine? Why spend 7 years studying and reading books and writing tests and exams and everything? And honestly, the only answer I have is because it's what I want. I've always wanted it. I have a little storage box of content I've written when I was grade 3, grade 4. My mom likes to keep such things. And I found a little note that says my future career, and it says a doctor. So it reminded me that ever since I was a child, that's all I've really wanted to be. People always say, was there an influence? Was it somebody that said this is what you're going to be and I took it up? But then it really wasn't. However, my mom is a nurse by profession, and I think that might have had affected to play, because there'll be times where I'll go get something from the hospital, or maybe I'm in the hospital waiting for her to finish her shift. So just seeing doctors around and them knowing my name and them calling me, you know, to go watch certain things and help with certain things, that's while I was still young. I think it may have played a role in why I loved the hospital and I wanted to be a doctor. But honestly, I did not have a second option or a third option. My one and only desire was to do medicine, and I was blessed enough to actually be able to go ahead and do that, because there are very few people who get to live out their dream, and for that I'm very, very grateful. However, even though it was my dream, it was not as easy as I thought it would be. By the way, medical school should come with a big warning in red that says, caution, enter at own risk, because it's been a roller coaster. 7 years are not easy. First of all, 7 years being away from my family, being in another country, having to adapt to the ways in that country, and just being able to see them whenever I want to see them, or not being able to attend family events. I've missed out on so many weddings. I have baby cousins who are 5, 6 years old, and I've never seen them or never met them. And it's because of such things where I only get to come home for a certain period of time. So it's not easy studying in another country. It's not easy chasing your dreams, but at the end of the day, it's all worth it. There have been times where I'd cry. There have been times where I've lost people while I'm in another country and I can't actually come and attend the funeral because it clashes with things like my exams and tests. So it's like I can't necessarily just, pick up and leave and come back. So it hasn't been easy. Overall, medical school itself is a roller coaster.